On this channel, I've spoken about Kool Herc, I've spoken about Grandmaster Flash, about Flowers, and a few of the other early pioneers. And for a long while now, I've wanted to talk about one of the most famous DJs in the Bronx in the early 70s. The one who held the largest parties, who could bring DJs to the Bronx like no one else, who was playing park jams before his contemporaries. A member of the Black Spades gang, and one of the class I now call proto-hip-hop DJs. This is Disco King Mario. See, Mario occupies an odd space in music history. He wasn't a big mobile DJ like a DJ Hollywood or Grandmaster Flowers, the Disco Twins, New Sounds, nor was he a resident club DJ. He doesn't have claim to techniques that drove the art form forwards like Herc or Flash do. By many accounts, he wasn't even a particularly good DJ, not technically anyway. What Mario had, and what Mario could provide though, were pivotal to bringing music to those who would become the first wave of hip-hop kids. Mario was born in North Carolina in 1956, but moved to the Bronxdale houses in the South Bronx as a kid. As the story goes, the Black Spades gang was formed around 1968 at the Bronxdale houses, and it appears Mario was a member from their inception. As the Spades grew, so Mario's power and influence grew across the borough. His connections and his position within the Spades provided two things. Firstly, security. You could feel safe at Mario's jams while there were risks that shut down other parties. This enabled him and his contemporaries within the organization, like Kool D, to play all over the Bronx in a way others couldn't manage at the time. As Kool Herc noted back in '89, having the gangs on your side was the difference to having success. It started coming together as far as the gangs terrorizing a lot of known discotheques back in the day. I had respect from a lot of gang members because they used to go to school with me. Guys knew me because I carried myself with respect and I respected them. I played what they liked and acknowledged their neighborhood when they came to my party. And secondly, that security allowed him to book venues that were off limits to his peers. Not only was he able to play parks across the borough, but he was able to secure venues and therefore start charging for parties that other DJs had no hope of even booking.
And Bam, he said, but I tried to get it. They said no. I said, but Mario said he can get it. Mario would get it, and that would be it. They would play.
Likely Mario was the first DJ to book a party at High School 123, a venue later frequented by a whole cadre of early hip-hop acts, including Bambaataa, DJs Breakout and Baron, Grand Wizard Theodore, Grandmaster Flash. All of this provides context for why I believe Mario and Kool D deserve more credit in our telling of hip-hop's story. The nature of them being all borough, as it were, is that they were the ones to inspire the next wave of DJs. An often mythologized aspect of the Afrika Bambaataa story was his ability to go anywhere in the Bronx, but the more I get to understand the history, that seems to be just as true for other members of the Black Spades, at least at the height of their powers, and doesn't make him unique in his ability to cross neighborhood lines. Kool D mentions this in an interview with Layla Wills, noting that him and Mario being visible to all these kids while playing park jams doubtless was a catalyst for at least some of them to pick up the art of DJing.
Listening to me and hanging out, then start playing with me. And we started going from parks in areas to play. And, you know, and we went in other areas and played. And the reason we can do that because we were Black Spades. And nobody would dare come, you know, and destroy my equipment or anything in there. And at that time also they had peace with other divisions, with other gang members. So.
Critical to hip-hop's development were a couple of larger factors I want to dig into more, encompassing the history of the Bronx at large. So subscribe if you want to see that, but for now I want to briefly highlight these to give context to the place Mario sat in the development. As told in Jeff Chang's book, which isn't perfect, but it might be the best rounded history we have. Authorities had long abandoned parts of the Bronx. Crowd control was always going to be an issue. There were still turfs, Bambaataa says, and you still had violence. This gives more credence to the idea that gang affiliation was a pivotal piece of success in those early years. As hip-hop was budding, without the strength required to enforce your own law when necessary, you could quickly be squashed before you began. And coming out of the late 60s and early 70s where gang violence was at its peak, the other key to Mario and hip-hop's success was the support of the community. As Jazzy J tells it, we had the support of the whole community. It's like we'd rather see them doing that, doing something constructive, than to be down the block beating each other upside the head. Or, per Michael Wayne TV,
Mario started all that. He's inspired a lot of brothers to bring that table out in the park, because all we used to do in the park back there was play ball or fight. He brought it out. We started dancing, you know, getting our groove on.
He brought in a lot of people from different communities coming over here to listen to his music.
Yes.
So far I've talked about Mario and his position within the movement, but his influence on other artists can't be forgotten. A couple of key members of hip-hop's first generation owe part of their success to Mario, and as much should be recognized. Firstly, Afrika Bambaataa. As both were members of the Spades and both were DJs, there's a clear link between Mario and Bambaataa, as told in Yes Yes Y'all by DJ Baron. We were going back and forth, and all of a sudden, you couldn't hear us no more. Because Bam borrowed his amp from Mario and blew us out the water, just drowns us out totally. In the early days of hip-hop, these DJ sound clashes set the hierarchy very clearly, and while Bambaataa went on to achieve a lot more in his career, stories like this emphasize that no one man can build an empire. And then there's the one, Chief Rocker Busy Bee. Best known for his part in the movie Wild Style and his infamous battle with Kool Moe Dee, which I covered here. As Busy Bee notes, I went from Disco King Mario to Breakout. I was like, yo, that's what I want to do. From there, Busy hooked up with a DJ by the name of Disco King Mario, who helped the rapper develop his unique booming sing-song voice. Disco King Mario had the system to understand my voice, Busy says.
And he said, wow, your voice sounds so vicious. And he had a funny way of saying words. And vicious was so vicious to him.
Mario's influence totals bringing music across the Bronx, showing the next generation that DJing was an art to carry forwards. His influence was gaining access to venues and monetizing parties, showing the way for established DJs to keep doing it and make it a job, make it a career. His influence was helping out Bambaataa early in his career. His influence was setting Busy Bee on the road to stardom in the late 70s. And so, all told, why don't we talk about Mario more often? As seems an all too familiar tale when talking about people in this era, Mario fell into addiction problems and passed away in '94, and so much like Grandmaster Flowers, he now has to rely on those who are left behind to defend his legacy.
You died on me too soon, and you know you should have stuck around to be talking about your own legacy.
To me, you are one of the 4 founders of our culture.
All of this to me shows Mario is as important to hip-hop as Herc, Flash, and Bambaataa. I've long heard the name in passing, but his undoubtable place in history is all too often glossed over. Before they had a name for hip-hop, they had the Disco King Mario, jamming in the park. Thanks for watching. That's just my little piece on Mario. Some other people have done great work. I highly recommend the True First documentary that's up on YouTube. I'll link that over here. Also, big thank you to Layla Wills and to Michael Wayne TV for doing the interviews they've done with the people they've done interviews with that are shedding an awful lot more light on those early years, and really for for everyone who's interested in that period in history, the work they've done is truly invaluable.